Let's jump into this first story from the New York Times. Ukraine strikes into Russia with Western weapons, official says. The official said Ukraine had destroyed missile launchers in the Russian region of Belgorod using an American-made rocket system. So we've got these videos that have been coming out of Russia. Just days after the Biden administration granted permission for Ukraine to fire American weapons into Russia, Kiev took advantage of its new latitude, striking a military facility over the border using a U.S.-made artillery system, according to members of Ukraine's parliament. This has already been reported on in Russia as well, confirmed by both sides. Yehor Chernev, the deputy chairman of the Ukrainian Parliament's Committee on National Security, Defense and Intelligence, said on Tuesday that Ukrainian forces had destroyed Russian missile launchers with a strike in the Belgorod region about 20 miles into Russia. Ukraine's forces used a high-mobility artillery rocket system, or HIMARS, he said. Confirmation coming from ABC News as well. And then let's see, we have this. This is an important context from Politico. Biden secretly gave Ukraine permission to strike inside Russia with U.S. weapons. Here's my favorite part. Here's my tweet. Western forces have begun direct strikes on Russian territory. Russia already warned this would be a declaration of war and they would retaliate. We ended up getting this beautiful community note, which read, "This is misleading. Western forces have not begun strikes inside Russia. Ukraine is conducting strikes inside Russia using Western American-supplied weapons. Referring to Ukraine as Western forces would not be accurate. Ukraine is an independent sovereign country that can only take action if Joe Biden tells them they can." Yeah, nice try, deep state. No one's fallen for it. This is a new era. We are wise to your crackpot games, and we ain't playing around. Look. They're going in the media and they're saying this is not war. This is Ukraine's doing it. You have to be a special kind of stupid to believe that's the case. So when I look at these liberal pundits and they're just like, wow, look what Ukraine did after Biden gave them the weapons and the permission. Yeah, that means they're taking orders from Joe Biden. That's it. This could very well be the doorstep of World War III, or at the very least, war, a direct confrontation with Russia. Now, to be fair, we're already at war with Russia. So the question is, does this escalate beyond and become something more akin to World War III?
You can guarantee that Russia is going to consider this an escalation, right? Like what they do, I don't know. I'm not making any predictions about what they do. But inside Russia, you can absolutely guarantee that they're going to consider just the acknowledgement, right? Because there's all kinds of things that they probably know. And they're like, well, we're pretty sure they're doing this, but we can't prove it or whatever. Like all kinds of stuff happens like that when it comes to international politics and stuff like that happens all the time. But when you have something that is either uncovered and the administration or whatever country in question has to admit it, that makes a whole different ball of wax as to how the country that was targeted is going to respond and how the international community will accept their response. Because like no matter what, the U.S. is going to be like, no, you shouldn't do anything at all, blah, 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 no matter what. But what the rest of the international community is going to say is going to be different because of that.
Yeah, well, we initially saw reports about this authorization from Biden last week, but it was when the Trump conviction came out. So it sort of was like some media reporting on it, but for the most part, it was news that was reported without really being, I think, taken in by the American public. I don't really understand how the White House can defend being like, well, we're not being aggressive against Russia. We're just helping Ukraine out by telling them to use our supplied weapons and force against Russia inside Russia.
And then within days, they actually do it.
Yeah.
Well, we have this from Sky News. Kremlin official threatens war against NATO if Ukraine uses U.S. weapons against Russia. A senior Russian official says the country could go to war with NATO after Biden allowed some U.S. weapons to be used by Ukraine in Russia. So we have rescue workers at a site of a residence hit by a Russian missile in Kharkiv.
That was Friday also. It's not like this is something that they said last year.
This is Friday.
They said that this past Friday.
Quote, Russia regards all long-range weapons used by Ukraine as already being directly controlled by servicemen from NATO countries. This is no military assistance. This is participation in a war against us. And such actions could well become a casus belli. For those that don't know what that means, it means cause for war.